Welcome to Sweeping the Country. Pleasure to be here. Of course, my co-host, Mr. Jimmy Carter, always entertaining and full of valuable information. Jimmy, how are you?
I think I'm fine. I'm really tired of the weather of 2023.
Ooh,
if there's one thing we can all agree on is that we get mad at the weather.
Yeah, we do.
And we get mad at politics. We get mad at everything. But the weather, absolutely has sucked this year. It's really terrible. Just ask people in San Diego or Los Angeles or Palm Springs. Palm Springs got the worst of it. I don't know if you've checked out Hurricane Hillary storm. They were drowning in Palm Springs.
Right.
And 9/11's been out, and they've had some serious problems there. They had the planes.
Yes,
at the Los Angeles airport had to use their windshield wipers.
Oh, my gosh. They probably had terrible blades on them because they never use them.
And I just saw a couple of them going back and forth. Oh, my God, I haven't seen this maybe ever. I know it's happened, but it doesn't happen very often.
That's true. And then on top of it, put an earthquake. They had an earthquake, too. What, 5.1?
At the same time.
Oh, my
and they would have
God.
normally gone crazy over that.
Yeah.
But they didn't. They didn't have time. They had too much other stuff going on,
Right.
They were too busy chasing their tail. But, you've got these fire. Eastern Washington.
Oh,
not
burning.
far from you has got one called the Gray Fire, and that's pretty ugly right now. And then, of course, the Canadian fires that we've all had to smell this year, they're bad news. Northern Canada, near Yellowknife and those, it's all over Northern Canada. I never really have not been explained why that has occurred, but
I haven't either.
I didn't really know why, but there is. And we've had no hurricanes yet, except for the Hillary one. Isn't that crazy?
Which is on the opposite
of the United States. And it hadn't happened in 84 years.
Right.
Out in the LA area. They had a tornado warning somewhere like San Diego. They never have tornado warnings. Just weird. And then, of course, it's just so hot in Texas.
Yeah.
And particularly, they've had, I think, maybe 6 or 8, maybe almost that many weeks of 100 degree temperatures every day.
That's hot.
Every day.
That is hot. Yeah, no doubt.
And the system is held up, which is pretty amazing, too. So, and as we get through the summer, and you wonder if the weather's going to be this nuts this summer. Oof. I hope it's not going to have a nutty winter to go along with it.
Oh, gosh. I'm already thinking about that. Some of the kids, I don't know what they're doing where you are, but some of the kids have already started school here.
They're back.
And not all of them, but some of them. So it kind of feels like summer's over. I know it's not officially over, but it feels like it's over. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately. Are we going to get some heavy snows? Because every, 8 to 10 years, we get this ridiculous winter where it is the snow is just astounding. So we'll see if that happens again. And it's cyclical, but we get it. And so I think some of the people that have recently...
and all that La Nina or El Nino or whatever, different, whatever one we're in, has just been strange. And then, of course, the horrible fires in Maui, and they're
awful.
That's going to go on. They're going to have to scrape the earth there. And I don't know how they're going to petition the property owners back their property and all of that. I don't know how that's going to work out, but I know that the locals, they don't like the tourist, but that's how they make a living.
So I'll ask you
that. I don't know how that's all going to work out.
If they didn't have the tourist, attraction or whatever it is that we all go there, we love it. It's paradise on earth, right? Hawaii is one of the most beautiful places, or was, and will be again, Maui. But if they didn't have the tourist, what would they have? Sugar cane, maybe?
It's only agricultural in some areas. And they do a lot of that stuff over on the Big Island.
Yeah, that's true.
Maui is a destination. It's just
right.
But there are parts of that island that are very wet. Not just all the Hawaiian islands. They're part of the islands that are very wet. There's some of them that are arid. That are dry.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they go through different phases. That's just everything. You can see a little bit of, you can get snow in Hawaii.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You want it up on top of that mountain where they have the observatory, and then you can go down from there and go step into the lava pits.
Right.
It's going right in Mauna Loa. It's a very unusual place. I had one of the really coolest things. I'm glad I did it. I don't know why I agreed to do it. It's not normally something I've agreed to fly in everything that can fly.
That's insane to me.
Helicopters,
but yeah.
the Concorde, anything that can be flown. I have been in it as a passenger.
Yeah.
I think I've flown the Goodyear blimp.
That's crazy.
Anything like that. But I've refused to get into a hot air balloon.
Why?
Because as a reporter, I've covered several of them that didn't work out too well. You can't control where they land. Every landing is a crash landing in a hot air balloon.
It does seem like a total crapshoot. We have something coming up in southern Idaho, well, Boise area, where they fly about, 20, 30 balloons at one time. It's a big festival, and they all go up in the air. Yeah. But that is one thing I agree with you. It's never appealed to me. It feels like you're just rolling the dice. And then,
in some parts of the country, it's probably all right.
Yeah.
But, say the South, for example, you got power lines and trees and all kinds of stuff, and these things try to get put down, and you're over an inhabited area.
Right.
And
right.
you have to crash into something or whatever. No,
right.
I just didn't know. I just hadn't said no to that. But I mean, helicopters, I've been in the front seat of a Cobra helicopter and flown in all of them. I've done all that stuff. But the coolest thing, I think really one of the coolest ones I I agreed to go in a glider.
Ooh, I would love that.
They towed us up there on the north shore of Oahu, and then they cut you loose, and then you're just gliding around, and the pilot's behind you. You're in the front. I think that's how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's it. Anyway, it doesn't last nearly long enough. But it was a lot of fun soaring around up there.
Is it peacefully and unusually
very
quiet?
Yeah. Very quiet and peaceful. And, it's just looking down is just so cool. And, and following the terminals, and you go up a little bit and you go down. And anyway, I highly recommend that. It's on the North Shore. You can go in there under glider rides, and there's
I bet it'd be beautiful.
A landing strip. They do skydiving out there too, which my brother, David, is suffering from his skydiving days. He's 83 now.
Yeah.
And he's a special forces military. But as you get older, your body starts reacting to things that you did when you were younger.
Yeah.
And he's definitely had some things that I think are directly related to landing after you've jumped out of a plane.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
But I'm still crazy about all the things that people don't cover. They don't have time to cover, or we can't keep the American people interested or whatever. It's just all they seem to be able to do is report on the horse race between Trump and Biden.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that going on right now, and that's
just what people are somehow they have deemed that if they try to talk about other things, which we're going to do, because I'm not talking about that.
I'm thankful of that. Yeah. I am too.
I really am. I'm tired of both of them.
Yeah.
And I really wish both of them would step out and let somebody else in. But because there's a lot of other things on this subsurface. You've got, even in your part of the world, Romney, I think he's got to decide whether he's going to run again. And he's not that popular, the way I get told, in Utah.
Yeah.
And then there's a Manchin. I'm told that he's got great potential for defeat in West Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're mad at him, because neither one of those two guys have been, I guess you'd call, by the book Republicans or by the book Democrats. So
right. I don't even know what by the book means anymore. I mean, I thought I did, but I don't. I don't know. I look at Trump saying he won't sign or endorse anybody else that's on the ticket if he loses, which every presidential candidate has signed that since the beginning of time. On the flip side, I don't know what's inside Joe Biden's head. So I'm like you, man.
I mean, I look at all these stories, and we've got so many things that need to get dealt with.
Yeah.
And maybe some of these get dealt with on both administrations, and you just don't hear about it. But
yeah, maybe.
Like the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
200 ships are stuck trying to enter the Panama Canal because of the Panama Canal drought. Ooh. I haven't seen anybody do that story.
I haven't heard that at all.
There's a drought in Central America, and you wouldn't, these ships that are kind of going through, the bulk cargo ships, that, the kind that look like they're carrying the back of an 18-wheeler.
Yeah.
They got them all stacked up there like they're some kind of game show.
Mm-hmm.
They're backed up 3 weeks to go through there.
Wow.
Because they haven't had any rain down there, and it's conserving water. Well, that just sounds like a really bad deal.
Yeah.
So if they're dependent on the water, why aren't they designing pumps that pump the seawater in there then?
It would seem more cost effective than trying to go around or
that
wait.
Is one of the great wonders of the world is the Panama Canal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And, it's been a major deal. But anyway, that's going on, and they're blocked on the Pacific and the Atlantic side. And then over there on another one of these, important shipping areas in the Strait of Hormuz, you've got all these Iranian things going on where they've got these drones and these little speedboats that are, in some cases, trying to capture boats. They're doing that again. But then we bring our military in there, and we have 2 U.S. warships with 4,000 troops on board. They were harassed by Iranian drones and speedboats, and had them in the crosshairs on stuff. And I mean, we're like an inch away from a war over there with some idiot, runs into us or does something maybe they're not really supposed to do.
Yeah.
And we blow them out of the water, then it starts all kind of trouble.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow. Yeah, you don't even hear about any of this.
No, you don't hear about any of that stuff. And then here's something. Rupert Murdoch has personally asked Virginia's Republican governor to jump into the race as his faith in DeSantis has waned.
Boy.
So there's a lot of weakness, in both sides, who they're going to go for and how they're going to go for it and where they're going to fit into each one of the different things. So.
Jimmy, I got to ask you this because it's been making me laugh every time it comes up, and nobody has said anything yet because nobody thinks like I do probably. Is it a little odd that they're calling the Hurricane Hillary that just happened? I mean, I know they go through the
alphabet. How did that ever happen in the first place? How did they ever get away with naming a Hurricane Hillary?
That's like, what's next?
How did that pass some bureaucratic roadblock?
Right, exactly.
Unless they named it during the Trump administration somehow.
Maybe.
I don't know when these things are named.
I don't know.
I just think someone had to have gotten in trouble for that.
Yeah, perhaps. I just thought it was funny.
One of the top stories of the year, even no matter when the year ends, is going to be the Taylor Swift phenomenon this year.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
It's incredible of what she has accomplished. And this guy today, Oliver Anthony, did debut #1 on the Billboard chart. And that's never happened. Let's see. It's never happened before. This is that red-haired guy with the beard.
Yep. He's mad about jobs. He's mad about working so hard and not making any money.
It's the first artist ever to launch #1 with no prior chart history in any form.
Well, that tells me one thing. That tells me it has tapped into a vein, a big one. And as much as people want to deny it or think it's silly or whatever, there's a lot of people out there consuming that product that it must speak to.
Well, it's just you've got country music today, a lot of it. You've got 2 wings of it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got one of the wings that's just, yummy, yummy, yummy. I've got love in my tummy. It's almost like bubblegum music was.
Yeah, I agree.
In the late 60s with the Ohio 1, 2, 3 red light, except they just sing about beer.
Right, and trucks.
And it's just lighter than a chiffon cake.
Yes, it is. Yes,
there's certainly there must have been a market for that in the past, and maybe to some people those days are done. And this guy, he's singing what used to be called a protest song.
It reminds me a lot of Merle Haggard walking on the fighting side of me. If you remember that,
it is, but it's more. It's more like it's more in an undefined way, like John Fogerty and Creedence Clearwater, "Fortunate Son."
I'll give you that. Yeah,
that kind of
fortunate one.
A little bit of Springsteen getting mad, that growl.
Yeah, there's definitely passion in there.
Rich man in Richmond, and it ain't nothing, and da 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 da, and da da da, and goose and a fine and a big. He just doing that kind of stuff. It's like the song "Eve of Destruction."
Yeah,
by Barry McGuire years ago. That was a big #1. And tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction.
Yeah, sure.
This way in Selma, Alabama. Da, 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 da. I mean, those are protest songs. Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Mm-hmm.
If I had a hammer, I'd hammer in the morning. That was done a little bit lighter than that, but it was still a protest song. So I think some people are fed up enough to desire a protest song.
I agree.
Or they're frustrated with the American government. They're frustrated with just how things are sometimes. I'm frustrated. I mean, I saw a story out of Wisconsin. I think it was Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
They've got this one prison on lockdown, and they've been on lockdown maybe for certainly weeks and maybe months.
Yeah,
that the prisoners aren't allowing out of the jail. They have to eat in their cell. There's a lack. Maybe in some cases, he run out of toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Basic stuff. And what's going to happen with that? I mean, I'm certainly not for coddling prisoners. I think people who go to prison, they're going to get punished.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing you cannot do in this country, you can't have cruel and unusual punishment.
That's right.
And inhumane treatment of people. And what's going to happen with that, with these folks that were, who have murdered people and done rape people and done bad stuff,
mm-hmm.
what's going to happen is the court's going to say, okay, because you've misbehaved and you've overcrowded and you haven't built any more prisons and you haven't hired any more prison guards and you can't seem to handle a population of 3,000, by Friday, you're going to have a population of 2,000. And if these things continue, then you're going to have a population of 1,500, and they're going to have to release hardened criminals into society. They have done it before.
Yeah.
And that's what happens. They've done it before. And so what this country did, and again, too many people, that's all they care about is talking about Trump and Biden.
Mm-hmm.
They need to be, oh yeah, here's another in the autonomous car. You
the
saw autonomous taxi, they had to cut it back 50% in San Francisco because one of them had a wreck with a fire truck, one of them got somebody hurt, one of them ran into wet concrete. I mean, all this stupid stuff. And we ought to be putting people that are designing moronic tools like that serve nothing. It serves no purpose other than to put somebody out of a job. I mean, really. What is the purpose of that?
Can I just say
those same people figuring out a way how to deal with people that have been bad prisoners in a 21st century style with either some kind of electronic banding on them where they can't do this and they can't do that, or even if it's around their neck or whatever they got to do that they can pass the courts with. But building these big warehouses where people are, that every bad person in the world is, where they just teach each other bad things. I mean, if you're going to put them in there for life, that's one thing. But if you're going to put somebody in there for 2 or 3 years and the rest of the people are in there for life, I mean, that person, there's no way they can be worth a damn when they get out of that place.
You just make me think about it because you're talking so logically. You talk about this stuff. The technology is there for a lot of things, yet we haven't applied it to the simple things. I mean, and I'll use this example. Just happened to me, I don't know, 2 nights ago, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm in a brand new house. It's 1 year old, right? Just built last year. I get the chirp from the smoke alarm. You telling me that there is at first I thought it was fire, but it was not. It was a battery, a 9-volt battery.
Going out.
You're telling me we can't put a rechargeable battery in a smoke alarm? Or a solar cell that recharges but the priorities are screwed up. We got the Chat GPT, though. We got that done so you can write your term paper, or if you want to write a letter to a coworker or something, you got that. You got the car that can drive itself.
How does that help society?
I don't know. I don't know.
How is AI where you can make someone sound like James Dean or look like James Dean?
Right.
And we're spending all this manpower and effort to be able to steal the copyright or the trademark of somebody.
Right.
We have no leadership in this country.
There's
if it's Trump or if it's Biden. Yeah. Nobody. We're like wild wolves running around.
You're right. You're right.
It's terrible. And for example, here's this story. And this is the first thing that just happened to appear in my stack right here. Taylor Swift, a delusional stalker, came to her building in Tribeca and tried to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody in the building kind of fooled him, called the cops, and they were there. While he was there, he was charged with 2 counts of trespassing. He said, I was disappointed. I want to marry her. I love her. Just on and on and on.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they brought him in for that, charged him with those 2 counts of trespassing. Let him out. He was back on the street again.
Yeah, because he's not a crackpot.
To do
no.
back in court in October. I mean, there's got to be a way where that girl shouldn't have to deal with people like that.
Yeah, I agree.
There's got to be some kind of punishment for him, some type of electronic surveillance that's put on him. Where, I mean, I don't know, but the brains that come up with these autonomous car things and this other idiocracy, Chat GPT or whatever, should be working on how to deal with criminals. If our, the basic, why did man ever get together with other men in the first place? Because they wanted to not be eaten by the saber-toothed tiger.
Right.
I mean, that was said to be one of the original reasons.
Yeah, I'll buy that. Yeah,
people got together was to protect. It was more strength in numbers against the animals and saber-toothed tigers and stuff, supposedly. So, I mean, our purpose of getting together now is so we can have Chat GTPG or have the autonomous car where all they were doing, a lot of people were having sex in the cars.
Sure. It's great. You don't have to drive it, so you can do whatever you do, I guess.
So that's it. So
play checkers, whatever.
This was happening in the taxis.
Nice.
Too.
That's nice.
So, I mean, just really, it's a waste of resources, brain power, and everything else. There needs to be we need management. We need somebody that's working on, why do we have an air traffic system with no, with the crap that we have in it? Why do we do that? Why do we allow that to even occur?
Right.
And I don't understand it. I mean,
I just
don't understand why the Panama Canal doesn't have any water in it. And we've got that thing could make the price of oil. It has so many economic effects.
Everything soar.
Stuff that everything goes through.
Yeah.
40%, I think, of everything we use goes through the Panama Canal.
Right. And if it's hanging up, there's payroll going on for those giant ships. There's fuel. There's all kinds of things that we're going to pay for.
Why do we have people working on that stuff instead of the autonomous car?
Well, they're busy, Jimmy.
We can scratch our nose and scratch our butt at the same time. Okay, I agree with that. But it needs to come, the management needs to come from the head.
That's true. That leadership,
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, I've always been for the space race and for a lot of that stuff. And if it's and if we're using it for some good purpose. I just think we've got so many issues. The space program gave us the defibrillator for the heart.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah.
All the cell phones, so many great miniaturized computers. I mean, you had all those people working toward that.
Yeah.
And the movie Oppenheimer on the negative side. I mean, well, it stopped the war, so it
can't be
negative,
positive.
Negative side. But I mean, you had all those brains come together to invent something that kept a million soldiers in the United States from getting killed. Neither one of us might not even have been here today if Oppenheimer and that group hadn't invented the atomic bomb.
There's a lot of truth in that, no doubt about it. But these guys are too busy. Everybody's too busy right now with whether we should drink Bud Light, which bathroom we should use. Let's see, are these movies okay? Are they?
It's just I don't know. Maybe we've had these issues on some of those, whatever they call those issues.
Yeah.
About the bathroom and all that. Maybe that's always been there. I mean, I guess it probably has. Since or maybe just all of a sudden people just started where they couldn't decide, what genre they were.
Yeah.
But it's just, you got people that are angry and scared, and they're protective of their children, and they don't like some of these things that are going on in some of these areas.
Yeah.
And they don't like the fact that their little girls. I don't like it that my granddaughters. That something could be weird in some of this.
No, I agree with you. I agree.
And so again, we mostly choose not to think about it, talk about it. We certainly don't know what to do about it. But I know if we don't get crime under control, if we don't get immigration under control, those two things, we are doomed. And there ain't nothing you can say about it.
Yeah, and at that point,
we've got.
It won't matter.
We've got people in. It won't matter. Those are the basic things. And it's the basic thing for whatever country you're in.
Yeah, sure.
Crime, this whole smash and grab crap that's going on in Southern California, that's just intolerable and completely insane.
Yeah.
And then just that kind of thing. It's just people want to have fewer and fewer police, and it's just I don't know. I just know I'm tired of hearing about Trump and Biden.
Yeah.
Neither one of them solve any problems. None.
No, and they exacerbate it to a certain extent. But and you're right when you go back and you say, yeah, the leadership lacks in this country. There's no question in my mind, and there are several factions of leadership. For example, that follow one leader and then another that follow another leader, and no one can ever agree, and no one can ever compromise. And so it's just basically a what show.
I mean, you wonder where someone that's where history used to be interesting in a way, because you wonder that during the Eisenhower administration, one of the greatest things that ever happened. I guess I was a little kid, so I didn't know.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it started before that. But Eisenhower got the interstate highway system going.
Yeah,
and they never finished it.
Really, I didn't know that.
No, they never finished it. There's still some holes,
mm-hmm.
And some of them have been held off by politics.
I'll be done.
There should have been an interstate between Macon, Georgia, and Jackson, Mississippi,
and they just never did it, huh?
Because of politics, because it was Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. They didn't want to, do that, and somehow, that was a defense highway. That was how it was built. Eisenhower had specifics, so tanks. He saw the Autobahn in Germany. He said, "We need to have the Autobahn in this country." That's why they built it with limited entrance and exits, concrete for the most part.
Yeah,
the bottom, so it was made a little better. All that stuff, fencing on the side, so deer can't just jump in there and kill everybody.
Yeah,
and all that stuff.
Ooh, I would love an Autobahn.
Where did our leaders see now? They're so busy trying to get us out of a car and into an electric product that we don't even talk about this. Where you live out there, if you have a bad winter this year, I want everybody to look around them while they're stuck on the interstate trying to get home in Boise or wherever, and tell me you just love to have a battery operated car at a time like this.
We drove, from Arizona. We went through Utah, Provo, Salt Lake, all the way down to Las Vegas and up to Kingman, right? That was our whole trip, and we were gone, and we saw 2 Teslas just parked in the middle of the desert. And I don't know what you do. Do you call somebody with a generator to come put it by your car and charge it?
No truck.
Do they have generators they must, to charge an electric car, but the guy's got to sit there.
My experience is that batteries don't like extreme weather.
Yes, hot or cold.
They hate cold weather.
Mm-hmm.
They hate cold weather a lot.
Oh, they do.
They don't like hot weather too much either.
Yeah.
They don't do well. The electrical component they create doesn't do well. And I just don't feel like some of these cars are going to do well.
That's wild, yeah.
And then still, we're just so not ready in this country for that type of. We could be in a planned community, but just like that autonomous taxi that hit a fire truck and ran over a little girl and did something else, those things would only work if everybody has one.
Right. I heard some talk.
If everything has the same technology, if everybody's autonomous, it would work. But you can't do a little bit of autonomy here, a little bit of gas engine here, a little bit of bicycles going on here. That doesn't work. That's just a recipe for chaos.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, we need some good leadership in this country, and we don't have it. So hopefully somebody will step out of the woodwork.
Yeah, I just hope young people, the really young, are getting out. I wish they would teach them current affairs in school.
Yeah, I do.
I really wish they would, and back off a little bit on some of the math and science for the masses. I don't agree with. I think you've got to have history that means something.
Yeah,
I think you need to update your history teaching, but the important history. I think they should demand that they know about current events.
Yeah, I don't disagree
all these
with you.
Things I talked about there, they all should be knowledgeable of those kind of events.
Yeah, which are things that you and I consume every day because of what we do. We have to consume that kind of thing. So we are knee deep in it all the way. But if you just scratch the surface a little bit, you can learn so much about that kind of thing, which makes me think of something while we're talking about it. Speaking of history, you have done something, and I want to give a shout out to Pick Fair right now. Just if you haven't been there, it's PICFAIR. You are there. You have historically documented something. I don't even know if you know that you've done it because you've taken so many pictures, but there are some great pictures on here. Some of it's historical information. Some of it's just fun stuff. Some of it's just beautiful stuff. But talk about this just a little bit because you have a home here.
Well, there's a couple of different places that do it.
Mm-hmm.
I think one is called Shutterstock.
Yep, I've seen that. Yeah.
Another one is PicFair, PICFAIR.
Yeah.
And that just happened to be the one. I did Shutterstock too, but I just kind of got into the PicFair because you got to upload. It's for people, like, for example, if you're writing a textbook and you show a picture of a cell phone tower, I've got a picture of a cell phone tower you can buy. There.
Yeah.
It's got to come from somewhere. It might as well be from me.
Yeah.
A picture of ships, picture of a flower, picture of a bird, picture of the location, the Wright brothers national monument there in Outer Banks. Whatever it is, I've got like a picture of a blue heron with a fish in its mouth. If you were doing something about birds or tourism or whatever, or you just like the picture, like of Alan Jackson saying goodbye on a boat.
Yeah, you sold me. I'm going to describe this
that way, and you can license these pictures like you can from Getty Images.
Yeah,
that's another place. You can license these pictures to use in advertising or commercial or whatever.
And so these are great pictures. These are great. You've done such a nice job, and you were talking about people using them for this and using them for that, and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm looking at a picture of a barrelback Chris Craft, all wood. I don't know, mahogany, whatever. And Alan Jackson with his cowboy hat, and his back's to you, and he's waving to you, and you've got a picture as he pulls the hoochie coochie away from the dock or through the marina. And I want this 24, 36 inches square rectangle, however it comes, and I want it hanging on my wall in my office. I can buy it just for that.
Yeah. So, there's just that kind of thing. So, we're in a new day where you've got to try to do multiple things. And I like photography. I've got all my things up on YouTube, Ask Jimmy Carter on YouTube. And those are all, different interviews or video type things.
Yeah, it's great. They are great, Jimmy. I mean, I encourage people, head over there.
But you were asking me, the reason I thought about it is because you asked me if I took any pictures while I was on vacation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And I did. I've taken a lot of pictures over a lot of vacations.
Yeah.
And I take them not so much. And I take pictures of humans, but mostly, I've posted up there things. Boats, planes, cars.
I love this one. Signs. I'm looking at this one. I absolutely love it. It's this crowded beach. It's got to be somewhere. South Miami is what it says. South Miami Beach. It's got a picture of all these people. And it's every different type of person you can imagine. The person with dress socks and sandals. Somebody's riding a bike. Somebody just got out of the water in a bikini. And in the background is a gigantic cruise ship, which looks like it doesn't even go there. It shouldn't even be there. But it is. It looks like it's beached right there on Miami Beach. These are some fantastic pictures. So I encourage everybody that's listening right now, just go check it out. It's a lot of fun. And you go jimmycarter.picfair.com.
Actually, if you're trying to find that, you probably can Google it. But everything I have, whether it's Instagram, whatever, is Ask Jimmy Carter. In this case, it's askjimmycarter.picfair.com. PICFAIR.
Yep, PICFAIR, and you'll find it. You'll find some cool stuff. Nothing's unreasonably priced. It's really cool, and you can license the pics too. And Jimmy did all of this and the photography, and you're a darn good photographer. I am pleasantly surprised.
I never knew I had particularly any talent until we got to the digital world. And then I said, well, I do have a little bit. I enjoy doing some of this stuff.
That's great. It's absolutely fantastic. So go get your pictures. Let's pick a leader who can actually lead and solve some of the problems in this country. And until next time on Sweeping the Country, I'm Derek Walker. He is...
I'm Jimmy Carter.
Good day.